Awesome. And y'all have been a part of quite a few conferences, or I'm sorry,
Yeah,
you've been a lot of different organizations, and that's how
yeah.
I met both of you. So, what do you think the impact has been on your family being part of those?
So the first thing I would say is everything is better together,
Right.
and that it's easy to feel alone in life, and especially this wild thing called home education. It's pretty
Right.
demanding, but doing it together just makes it better. So even whenever we only knew two other families in our community, we would get together to do things together and to
Right.
mutual benefit. It wasn't in a formal sense. Most of the time it wasn't formal, but it was but eventually we got involved with the group that was in Monroe.
Well, you're able to pair your strengths kind of like in a marriage, you complement one another. And when you have a small group of friends or a large group of friends, then you're able to pull together what your gifts and your compliments are. One of the
Right.
gals that we were first involved with she had a degree in art, and I didn't know anything about art. And so,
Right.
we did several fun things, but I had a background in 4-H growing up. So we started a 4-H club, and that's where we based our community service out of.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we took her creativity and we did puppet shows as part of our, where the kids made puppets and we did
Mhm.
puppet shows. And everybody brought their own strength to the group.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of, in essence, a miniature co op of where we brought our strengths and what we were
Right.
able to teach. And we had a lot of fun in the process. I had friends, the kids had friends.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so having a group, we feel like, is really important, whether
Yeah.
that group has 4 or 5 families, 40 or 50 families, or 400 families, that you benefit from that. And now you can get distracted, whereas today we have so many options of activities and things to do that you can get to where you're hardly ever home. And we feel like that's a danger, either being by yourself on one side or having too much involvement in things
Yeah.
on the other, to where you're not really focusing on your own children. So anyway, we felt like it was important.
Yeah.
We got involved when on the local level from the very beginning. On the state level, as our children got older, we had done a lot of other state level activities, but we did speech and debate when ours were growing up. We started that in Louisiana, in CFCA,
When they were in
STOA,
high school.
when ours were in high
Right.
school. And anyway, it was something that we feel like was worthwhile. Our state convention every year was always a big influence. Now, that was
Yeah.
before podcasts and the multitude of things you have
Mhm.
online. But one of the benefits that we feel of going to an actual event like what y'all are having in July and what
Mhm.
we're having in March is, for State Homeschool Louisiana is sponsoring a conference in March 23rd in Hammond.
Okay.
But you get still before the Lord. You're not doing dishes and listening. You're
Right.
not dealing with the children and listening. You're just sitting still before the Lord. And I feel like that in a situation like that, that He has direct access to your heart and to your mind. And we
Right.
always found that very encouraging. And you get to where you're thinking in the spring, I'm not sure I can do this again. And yet
Right.
going to something like that can be
Yeah.
the vision renewal that you need to keep going for another year.
Yeah. Yeah. And another benefit to us is that we always would make a new friend. We would meet somebody. Somebody would come into our lives through those events.
Right.
Through the years, and you never know who it's going to be, and it could be one of the someone on the program, so to speak. But usually it was somebody that was just a fellow attendee that you found you had something in common, and had a common struggle, a common success, a common, something bound you
Interest.
together. Yeah. So the live events, I think, are still very important, even if you can get a podcast or other online types of things.
I agree. And the whole being still before God, I listen to podcast every day a lot. And then sometimes I'm like, I'm not exactly sure what I just heard. Whereas if I've sat, because I get busy, I'm doing dishes or someone's talking to me. But if I go to a conference, I've taken notes, I've spent time, I've focused. And
Yeah.
also that's where I met Miss Jan. And over the years, that was probably, I don't know, 15 years ago. It was a long
Yeah.
time, maybe longer.
That's right.
And over the years, I've been able to call you and ask questions and help. Like I've just needed help and you've been there and I thank you for that. It's lovely.